Story number 1. It was supposed to be a simple 3-day camping trip. Me, my cousin Daniel, and our mutual friend Mason had been planning it for months. We were heading deep into the Hollow Pines forest, a thick, isolated stretch of wilderness in northern Oregon that was rarely traveled. Rumors floated around the internet about the place. People said GPS stopped working near its center, that animals didn't live there, that strange noises echoed through the trees at night. Urban legend stuff. We laughed it off. That was kind of the point. We wanted remote, off-grid, real wilderness. We got more than that. Day 1 was uneventful. We parked Daniel's truck at a ranger-designated drop site and hiked for hours into the dense woods. Everything seemed fine at first. Moss-covered trees, silence only broken by the occasional bird call or crack of a stick underfoot. We made camp near a small, stagnant creek with dark, copper-colored water. The sun dipped below the tree-line by 7 p.m., and the chill came fast. That night, we built a fire, roasted hot dogs, told dumb ghost stories, and passed around a flask Mason had snuck in. Around 10 p.m., we heard something. Just outside the ring of firelight, footsteps. Slow, crunching leaves. 1, 2, stop. We all froze. Probably a deer, Mason said too quickly. But it wasn't. The steps circled us, just outside the visible glow. Daniel shined his flashlight, but the beam only caught trees and more trees. Then the sound stopped. All night I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing faint rustling, sometimes what sounded like whispers, though it could have been wind. Day 2 things got weird. Our firewood was gone. We had stacked it neatly near the tent, but it was just gone. Not disturbed, not scattered. Gone like someone had carried it away. Daniel found a deep scratch down the side of his backpack. At first, we thought it was from a branch. But it wasn't a random tear. It was a perfect, vertical claw mark. No animal we knew of could do that cleanly. We decided to stay close that day. No hiking. We refilled our water bottles at the creek, though Mason noted the water smelled stronger today, like rust. He dipped his bottle, then stood frozen. There were bones, just beneath the surface of the water, tangled in reeds, small white bones, like animal legs or hands. The water distorted them, but they looked human. We backed away and didn't drink. The whispers returned that night. This time they were clearer. Children's voices, laughing, then crying. Mason swore he saw someone standing among the trees. Not walking, standing. Watching. He ran at them with a flashlight and knife, but found nothing. We should have left. But it was dark. Daniel said we'd hike back at dawn. Then the tent collapsed. It folded in on itself like something had jumped on it from above. We screamed, scrambled out. I swear I saw a pale arm retreat into the forest. We didn't sleep. Day 3. Our backpacks were torn open. All food gone. My boots were missing. I had to wear water shoes. Daniel's GPS wouldn't turn on. Neither would Mason's phone. Mine blinked to life for a moment, showing 3:33 a.m. before it died. We ran. No trail. No signal. The forest seemed to twist around us. We'd walk in a straight line for hours and end up back at the creek. And then we heard a new sound. Rattling. Chains. Daniel swore we were being hunted. He started panicking, yelling into the woods. Mason tried to calm him down, but then we heard it. Someone mimicking Daniel's voice, shouting back. Exact same words, same rhythm, but it came from behind us. And then laughter. But it wasn't human. It was hollow, like something pretending to laugh. We ran. That night, we didn't set camp. We just sat against a tree trunk in silence. The forest around us creaked, groaned, whispered. Sometimes we'd hear footsteps. Once, I opened my eyes and saw something crawling. Not walking. Crawling on all fours along a tree branch above us. Thin, pale, head tilted backwards. I blinked, and it was gone. Morning came, or we thought it did. The sun didn't rise. A dim gray mist filled the forest, but no light. My watch showed 10:45 a.m., but it was dark. Not black, but twilight dark. And then we heard the voices again, this time ourselves. Exact copies of our voices echoing through the trees, talking about things we'd said days ago. Mason broke. He sprinted into the trees, screaming for help. We chased after him, but he vanished. Just gone. No footprints. No sound. Daniel wanted to go after him. I held him back. We waited, called for hours. Nothing. Then came the screaming. Not Mason's. Hundreds of voices. Some young, some old, all screaming at once. And then silence. We stayed still until we could move. Hours later, we stumbled into a clearing we hadn't seen before. In the center stood a cabin. Old, rotting. Smoke coming from the chimney. We didn't think. We ran in. Inside, the fireplace was cold. Cobwebs. Dust. A single rocking chair that began to move on its own as we watched. Then came the thumping upstairs. We backed out. Fast. As we turned, I saw something inside the doorway. A tall figure, gray-skinned, with no face, just a slit across where its mouth should be. It lifted one hand and waved. We ran blindly and somehow made it back to the truck by nightfall. Daniel didn't speak the entire drive home. Weeks later, he was found sitting on his porch, catatonic, whispering the same thing over and over. They never let you leave. They only let your body go. Mason was never found. And Hollow Pines? Is not on Google Maps anymore. I checked. But sometimes, when the wind hits just right, I swear I hear him. Mason. Laughing out there in the trees, calling me back. Calling me home. Story number 2. We were 6'3" couples on a fall camping trip deep into the Oldfield Forest Preserve. The trees there are older than any you've ever seen, with trunks thick as ancient statues and branches that claw at the sky. My girlfriend, Kayla, was obsessed with off-grid locations, and this forest had recently reopened after being closed for over a decade due to unexplained ecological disruptions. We had the perfect plan. 2 nights, 3 tents, 1 secluded grove we'd hike 5 miles to. No cell service, no people, just nature. And something else. The hike in was strangely silent. No birds, no bugs, just the crunch of leaves and the occasional whisper of wind through twisted limbs. Around noon, we reached the grove. A circular clearing in the forest, surrounded by massive, unnaturally tall trees that curved inward, like they were leaning in to listen. We set up camp and explored. The ground was soft, spongy in places. Kayla pointed out strange symbols carved into some of the trees, spirals, triangles, runes we couldn't identify. The bark around them was darker, almost burned. That night, around the fire, we passed drinks and laughed, though the forest around us swallowed sound. Felt like we were being watched. No wind, no wildlife, just an oppressive silence that pressed on our ears until we felt dizzy. At midnight, we heard the first echo. It started with Jenny's voice. She was sitting right there, telling a story about her dog, when suddenly we heard her exact words echo back at us from the woods. Same tone, same pitch, just delayed by a few seconds. We all froze. "That was weird," she said. And again from the woods. "That was weird." We scanned the trees with flashlights. Nothing. The echoes continued, our voices bouncing back. Only the rhythm was off, like something was deliberately repeating us, not reflecting sound. Logan, Jenny's boyfriend, got up to investigate. He stepped beyond the firelight and disappeared into the trees. 10 minutes passed. Then we heard him scream. A short, sharp cry, followed by silence. Then, from the woods, 10 minutes passed. The echo was copying everything now. We ran into the trees with flashlights, yelling for Logan. We followed the sound of his last scream to a circle of trees where the ground was soaked. Not with blood, but with something thick and black, like tar. And there, stuck halfway in the bark of one of the trees, was Logan's phone, its screen still glowing. His last photo was blurry, but it showed what looked like a face, or multiple faces, twisted together in the bark of the tree behind him. Faces that were screaming. We ran back to camp. Except it wasn't the same camp. Our tents were gone. The fire pit was still warm, but the logs were different. Our backpacks were still there, but zipped shut, placed neatly in a perfect circle. "Did someone move our stuff?" Kayla asked. Did someone move our stuff? The echo was back. But now it was coming from inside the grove, not the forest. We checked our watches, 3:07 a.m. Only, the sun never rose. We waited, but the sky stayed dark. A strange twilight lingered, where the stars flickered like dying candles, and the moon hung far too large and low, tinged with red. The trees began to whisper, not in the wind, but in actual words. We heard Logan's voice, "Why did you leave me?" Then our own voices, twisted versions of conversations we had earlier. Laughter turning into cries, begging. Kayla grabbed my arm and whispered, "This place is copying us, studying us." One by one, the others started hearing things only they recognized. Jenny swore she heard her dead brother's voice. Matt heard his childhood dog barking. Emily heard her mother crying. The grove was pulling something from each of us. We decided to leave. But no matter which direction we walked, we always ended up back in the clearing. Trees didn't look the same anymore. They shifted, moved. I saw one tree open. Not split, but open like a mouth, revealing a hollow filled with more of that black tar. Inside the bark, I saw eyes watching me. Kayla said she saw herself in the trees, an exact mirror waving from the shadows. Then it walked out and stood across from her. They stared at each other. Then her double smiled and ran into the forest. Kayla screamed and ran after it. I followed, but the forest swallowed her whole. I never found her. Hours passed, days maybe, and the others started vanishing one by one. I'd blink, and suddenly they were gone. No sound, no footprints, until only I remained. The grove grew darker. The sky turned the color of blood. The trees began to close in. I tried cutting one down with a hatchet from my bag. When I struck it, it bled. Not sap, blood. And then, the tree whispered, "You're part of the forest now." I ran. I don't know how I got out. 1 minute I was in the grove, surrounded by chanting trees, and the next, I was stumbling onto a road near the ranger station. I was alone. My clothes were torn. My watch said 4:13 a.m. 2 months had passed. Kayla, Jenny, Matt, Emily all missing. Logan's phone was found embedded in a tree, just like I'd seen. The rangers searched. Story number 3. The forest was called Dry Hollow, but it was anything but dry. A thick, humid mist clung to the ground year-round. Locals refused to step foot inside past dusk. They called it the Lanternwood in hushed tones, referencing a tale of glowing red lanterns that moved through the trees, always just out of reach, and always leading people somewhere they never returned from. We weren't locals. We were 4 university students from the city. Me, James, my girlfriend Nicole, and our friends Ryan and Elise. We were studying folklore and wanted to collect ghost stories for a podcast project. So naturally, we went to Dry Hollow. The town just outside the forest was small and empty feeling. Old gas pumps, rotting porches. The owner of the general store told us plainly, "If you see a red lantern after dark, don't follow it. And if it follows you, run." We laughed it off. The trail we followed led us deep into the woods, farther than most hikers would bother going. We reached a clearing by late afternoon and set up our tents. The air was still, too still. No bugs, no wind, just the oppressive smell of wet leaves and rot. That night, Nicole noticed the first one. A small, red glow, flickering behind a tree, maybe 30 yards away. It hovered too high to be a person. No sound, no heat. It simply drifted slowly between the trees. We assumed someone else was camping nearby. But when we called out, the light snapped off like a switch. We tried to forget about it. At midnight, we heard a voice. "James, come look." It was Nicole, whispering outside my tent. Only Nicole was still asleep beside me. I froze. The whisper came again. "James, I found something." It was the same voice, her exact tone. From outside, I grabbed a flashlight and stepped out. No one was there, but the trees were glowing. Red lanterns, 5 or 6 of them, swaying gently in the mist, forming a line that led deeper into the forest. They weren't hanging from anything. They just floated. I called for the others. When they came out, the lanterns were gone. Ryan joked that we were seeing will-o'-the-wisps. Elise looked pale. She whispered, "I read about this. In Eastern Europe, people believe red lights like these are not spirits. They're hunters. They mimic people. They lure them." We heard whistling from the trees then. The same tune Nicole liked to hum when she was nervous. Only she wasn't humming it. We all agreed to pack up at dawn. But the forest wouldn't wait. At 3:13 a.m., Nicole woke me up gasping. She said someone was crouched by the tent wall, whispering to her through the nylon, mimicking my voice. She asked it a question only I would know the answer to. "What did I write on the note you gave me last Valentine's?" The voice replied, "Forever isn't long enough." That was right. But she didn't tell me until later that I actually wrote, "Forever is long enough with you." The thing had gotten close, but not perfect. It was studying us. We stayed up, waiting for dawn. That's when Elise vanished. 1 minute she was with us. The next, her sleeping bag was empty. Her boots were still by the fire. We screamed for her. And then we saw her, standing between the trees maybe 50 feet away, bathed in red light. Several lanterns floated near her, motionless. She didn't move. She just stared. I ran to her, but when I reached the spot, she was gone. And the lanterns, they moved. Fast. One rushed toward me. No sound, just heat and pressure like the air collapsing. I dropped to the ground, covering my face. When I opened my eyes, I was back at camp. Nicole and Ryan said I'd only been gone a minute. But I checked my phone. An hour had passed. The forest didn't care about time. It bent it. We grabbed what we could and started hiking back. The trail had changed. Trees we'd marked were missing. Familiar landmarks were in the wrong place. We walked for hours. Every turn, every hill, more red lanterns. Floating, watching. At sunset, we stumbled into an old clearing filled with rotting tents and rusted gear. Some of the packs had tags on them. Dates. One was from 1986. Another had Elise's initials. Fresh, like it had been dropped minutes ago. Then, one by one, we saw them. People. Just standing in the mist. Silent. Dozens. Faces pale. Eyes empty. Skin too perfect. Like man. Story number 4. The forest in question didn't have a name on any of the maps we checked. The locals just called it the Sink, short for Sinkwood Hollow, and it sat miles off any paved road, dense with pine and rotted undergrowth. A group of 5 of us, Derek, Tasha, Marcus, Lena, and me, decided to spend the weekend there after hearing about a secluded clearing that had an old stone fire pit and natural hot spring. We were all in our 20s, obsessed with ghost stories and YouTube thrill-seeking. The plan was to record everything. It was Lena's idea to do a live stream out there. Real-time reactions, night vision cams, the works. The locals didn't give us much more than warnings. "The forest sinks," one gas station clerk told us. "Don't dig. And whatever you do, don't sleep with your fire out." We laughed. Thought it was just some backwoods superstition. We should have listened. When we reached the clearing, it was perfect, wide, flat, and eerie in all the right ways. A stone fire pit sat dead center, moss creeping along its edges. Old, dark stones. Too round. Too symmetrical. Something about it felt wrong, like it had been there longer than the trees. That first night was mostly harmless. Drinks, laughs, ghost stories around the fire. We heard a few twigs snap in the darkness, but it was probably just deer. Then Marcus found the trapdoor. It was under a mossy patch near the fire pit. A wooden door, sunken into the ground, covered in strange, burned markings, like runes or maybe claw marks. He insisted on opening it. We argued. He won. The hinges screamed when we pulled it back, revealing a vertical shaft maybe 10 feet deep, with a rusty old ladder bolted to the dirt wall. The air that came out was wet. Too wet, like breathing through a sponge. It smelled like rot and copper. We lowered a flashlight in. The bottom was black stone. Smooth, not natural. Then we heard the breathing. Slow, deep, like something massive inhaling through miles of tunnels. Marcus wanted to go down. We told him absolutely not. So we closed the trapdoor and agreed to pretend it didn't happen. But the fire wouldn't stay lit that night. Every few minutes it would sputter and die, even though the wood was dry. Tasha swore she saw shapes moving just beyond the tree line. Long, thin, too tall. No sound. Just flickers of motion when you weren't looking. Lena's camera batteries drained instantly, one after the other. At midnight, Marcus went missing. We found his boot beside the trapdoor, which was open again. Only this time the ladder was gone. The shaft was deeper now, impossibly deep. We couldn't see the bottom, even with 3 flashlights. The breathing got louder. It sounded closer now. We agreed to leave at first light. Tasha didn't make it. She vanished while getting water from the creek, not even 30 feet away. One moment she was whistling, the next gone. No sound, no struggle, just her empty jug floating in the water. We ran, but the forest wouldn't let us. The trail twisted wrong. The trees leaned inward. The moss beneath our boots felt spongy, like walking on a mattress soaked in blood. We ran for hours but kept returning to the same place. The clearing. Only now the fire pit was glowing. Dim red light leaked from the cracks between the stones. The trapdoor was gone, swallowed by the earth. Then we heard Tasha's voice. It came from the fire pit. Clear. Too clear. Guys, help me. It wasn't her tone. Not her pitch. Just her words. Like something wearing her memory. We should have run. But Lena, sobbing, ran to the pit. She leaned in, and something pulled her in so fast she didn't have time to scream. One moment she was there, the next gone. Her scream came from below, muffled and wrong, like someone dragging nails across a chalkboard underwater. The fire blazed without wood. The forest moaned. Derek and I ran. We didn't stop until we collapsed in a marsh hours later. A search and rescue chopper found us the next day. We told them what happened. They found no clearing, no fire pit, no trail leading to where we claimed we camped. They found Marcus's boot in a tree 15 feet off the ground. No blood, no tracks, just the boot, full of wet ash. Derek never spoke again. He sits in a facility now, muttering in his sleep.